You'll be pleased to know this evening that we've got quite a chilled class given the temperature. So it's quite slow moving. So definitely not restorative, but definitely not really sweaty either. So we're going to start in our easy seat. So whether that's on your knees or sat on a cushion or cross-legged, whichever is most comfortable for you. Just trying to keep the spine nice and tall, honouring its natural curves. Relax the shoulders down the back, releasing any tension in the neck, and just balance the head perfectly on top of the spine. And then gently close your eyes and arrive on your mat. And just take the awareness, first of all, to your body. Just noticing how comfortable you are in your easy seat. Noticing if there's any areas of the body that need a good stretch or a good workout. Whether there's any areas of the body that you could do with releasing tension. And then take your awareness to your breath. Just watching the breath come and go as it pleases, in and out of the body. And whilst you sit here and watch the breath, just notice its character. Its length, its depth, how the breath enters the body and how it chooses to leave again. Where the breath moves your body. Notice if it's flowing freely and easily. And notice whether there's any areas of restriction. And then gently flutter the eyes open, and we'll start with some block breath. So you can either do this with your arms relaxed with your hands in your lap or using a mudra, maybe thumb to middle finger, or you can use your arms. So entirely up to you how you want to move. So if you want to get into the movement of the arms, we'll inhale the arms up in front of the body for 4, hold them in at the top for 4, exhale them out to the sides for 4, and then hold them in at the bottom for 4. And again, if you want to do a mudra at the bottom, either thumb to forefinger, or you can place one hand inside the other and just touch the thumbs, then that can be added into your practice too. So exhale out all the air in your body, and then in 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, in 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, in 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, In, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold. Excellent, then just let the breath come back to normal. So if you're not already cross-legged, then come round into a cross-legged position. And if crossing your legs is really uncomfortable for you, you can always put one foot in front of the other rather than crossing, or you can put one foot on top in half lotus if that's more comfortable. But you really want to be sat on your sit bones for this. So spine is up nice and tall, and if you can't comfortably keep your spine up tall, then just sit on a block. Just place the block underneath your hips. Okay, so for this one, we will start by really lengthening the spine and taking the hands straight out from the shoulders. Stretch the fingertips away from you to really lengthen from fingertips to fingertips, and then flex the hands up so the fingertips are pointing towards the ceiling. And then really press out through your palms as though you were trapped between two walls, and you're really pressing the hands away. And we'll stay here for 6 deep breaths. So in your own time, start counting the breath. Really think about engaging the core muscles to help you stay in this position. Really press the hands away to engage all of the arm muscles. Try and keep the jaw relaxed. And really feel your sit bones beneath you connecting with the floor. If you've done your 6 breaths, you can lower your arms into your lap. If you've got one more, then stay with me. Good, and then bring the hands down. Just have a couple of rolls through the shoulders, rolling them to the back, and then rolling them forwards again. And then untuck the legs and come round into a tabletop position. So for this one, we want our knees a little bit further back from our hips, so we have more weight in the hands. As always, make sure your wrists are safe. So if you know you don't have a huge amount of flexibility in the wrists, take the hands slightly forward of the shoulders. Keeping the spine nice and neutral, and keep the head as the extension of the spine so the neck is long, eyes looking down between your 2 hands. Really pull the core tummy muscles in, and then really press the ground away so the shoulders are engaged. Keeping those tummy muscles pulled in nice and tight. We'll do 6 breaths in this position. Obviously, the length of your deep breath is unique to you. So once you've done your 6 breaths, just take the hips back and stretch the back of the shoulders out in child's pose. Excellent. So once you've done your 6, just gently lower the hips back towards the heels and let the head come down into child's pose. Reach those fingers forward, really elongate the spine. So as the fingers reach forward, the sit bones reach back towards the heels. Keeping the arms active so the elbows are up off the floor. Just really stretching the spine as much as we can. Softening down onto the mat beneath you. Excellent. And coming back up. This time we'll take our elbows down onto the floor. Elbows directly beneath your shoulders. Really spread the fingers nice and wide and press every single finger into the mat as well as the palm of your hand. We're going to hold this next position for 6 breaths. So you can either stay on your knees, but take your knees back as far as you can so that you can lower your hips and engage your core, or step your feet back into a dolphin plank. So really pull those tummy muscles in, really press the ground away with your elbows so the shoulders are engaged, and then take your 6 breaths. Tuck the tailbone under. You can have your feet hip width if that's more comfortable. Pull all the core muscles in, hips are nice and low. Really tighten everything, make the pose easier for yourself. Keep counting those breaths. We're going to go all the way up to 6. Tucking the tailbone under, stretching the heels away from you, pressing the hands into the mat. And then once you're done, lower your knees and gradually make your way back into an active child's pose. Stretching those fingers away, stretching the hips back towards your heels. Then on your next breath, come back up to tabletop. This time, knees are directly below your hips. Hands can be directly below your shoulders or a little bit further forward if that feels kinder on the wrists. This time we'll move into cow. So let the belly come down, let the sit bones go up towards the ceiling. Really press the ground away with your hands so the shoulders are engaged. And then lastly, gently look up with the eyes, trying to keep the back of the neck as long as you can. And then take 6 deep breaths in this position. And this time, once you've done your 6 deep breaths, we're going to flow straight into cat. Just see with each inhale if you can back out of the pose a little. And see with each exhale if you can relax into it a little more. And then once you've done your 6 breaths, move really, really slowly into cat, gently moving the spine from a deep back bend into its forward bend, really pulling the tummy muscles in, dropping the head down, reaching the middle part of the back up towards the ceiling, pressing the ground away with your knees and with your hands. And then in this restricted position, take 6 breaths as deep as you can. And again, ease out of the pose slightly on the inhale and then go into its full extension on the exhale. And then once you've done your 6 deep breaths, come back to a neutral spine. Walk the hands forwards and then take your elbows down onto the mat, really stretching your chest down onto the mat too. If you can do full puppy pose, then get your head down, stretch your arms a bit further away, then feel free to do so. And if it's in your practice and you can sink your chest all the way to the floor and then maybe move onto your chin, then you can do that too. So really think about arching through the upper back, through the thoracic spine. Really trying to relax into the pose, and again we'll hold this for 6 breaths. And once you've done your 6 breaths, gently press into the hands and lift the chest and the head up off the floor. Come back into your tabletop and then sink your heels all the way down, hips even, all the way down to your heels. So a big back bend is generally followed by a big forward bend. So drop your hands down towards your feet. For this one, rabbit pose, really round through the shoulders first and drop the chin to the chest. Maybe you can hold onto your feet here, maybe not. Depends on how long your arms are in comparison to your torso. But once you've really rounded through the shoulders and dropped the head, then round through the rest of the spine. Try to get your head as close to your knees as you can. Really grasping onto your feet, fingers on the inside, thumbs on the outside. When your head touches down on the floor, gradually raise your hips up off the mat. Wriggle your knees as close to your head as you can, and then really stretch the back as you're pulling on the feet. And take 6 deep breaths, or as deep as you can, in this pose. Almost like you're trying to do a forward roll, but hanging onto your feet is stopping you from rolling over. Really extending through the lower back, the middle back, the upper back. Then pull on the hands, pull on the feet to sit your hips back down, and then gradually roll all the way back up to seated again. Good stuff. Right, okay. So coming back to your tabletop position again, knees underneath the hips. This time, inhale the left arm up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, bring it through the gap and come down into a twist. Your right hand can either stay in front of your face. You can reach it up towards the ceiling and round behind your back if you'd like to increase the twist. Or if you want to stretch into the underarm and into the armpit, then stretch the right fingers directly above your head. And then take 6 deep breaths in this position, whichever one you've chosen. Really sensing where your body is in terms of position on your mat. Feeling the parts of your body that are pressing down into the ground. Feel the areas that are constricted and feel the areas that are getting a good stretch. Then bringing your hand back in front of your face, press up to tabletop, and then we'll twist on the other side. So inhale the right arm up this time, and then thread it through the gap, coming down onto the right shoulder. And then on this side, either keep your left hand in front of your face or reach it up towards the ceiling and wrap it around your back, reaching for the right thigh to increase the twist. Or if you'd like to stretch into the underarm, then stretch the fingers directly above your head. And then whichever pose you've chosen, we'll stay here for 6 breaths. Again, sensing where you're constricted or restricted. Sense where you need a really good stretch. Sense where you're already free and easy. And then once you've done your 6 breaths, bring your hand back in front of your face if it's not there already. And then push yourself up to tabletop. Tuck the toes and push up into our first downward dog. Again, we're going to stay here for 6 deep breaths. but you can wiggle and jiggle as much as you like during those 6 breaths. So if you want to stretch down one side of the body and then down the other, or you want to pad the feet, or maybe move the hips, do whatever your body is craving for 6 long, deep breaths. Then bring your shoulders forward over your hands, coming into plank. And we'll hold plank for 6 breaths. So really ground down through the feet, really ground down through the hands, press into all of the fingers, tuck the tailbone under, press the ground away so the shoulders are engaged. 6 long, deep breaths. Pull those core tummy muscles in. There's always the option to drop the knees if it's too strong. And if you haven't already, drop the knees, take the hips back towards the heels, and 6 deep breaths in child's pose. Keeping your child's pose active. Fingers reaching forwards, hips reaching back towards your heels. For the next one, I'm going to give you 2 options. So either you can do 3-legged plank or you can do 3-legged dog. We're going to start with the left leg raised. So if we're in plank, first of all, we step our legs up, we engage everything, really tighten around the core, tuck the tailbone under, press the ground away, then we reach the left leg away and we hold for 6 breaths. If you're doing downward dog, then exactly the same. Get set up in your downward dog first, and then raise the left leg up as high as you can, really stretching those toes towards the ceiling. Doesn't matter if the standing leg is bent or straight, doesn't matter where your foot is, whether your heel's down or not, just stretch those toes up towards the ceiling and really take your chest through towards your thigh. Those are the most important cues. So, choose your position, either plank or 3-legged dog. Get your set up right first, press the ground away, pull the core tummy muscles in, then raise that left leg for 6 breaths. Really engage that raised leg so the muscles are strong. Really pull the core muscles in. Then once you've done your 6 breaths, slowly lower the toes, drop the knees, come back into child's breath for 3 breaths this time. Really relax on those exhales, breathing out any tension in the body. Then come back up again into your pose, either down dog or plank. Press the ground away, find your core pose first. Squeeze all the muscles around your bones and then lift the right leg, pointing the toes away. If you're in plank, stretch the toes back behind you. If you're in down dog, stretch the toes up as high as you can. And you know already we're doing 6 breaths. Once you've done your 6 breaths, take the toes back down to the floor, take the knees down to the floor, and come back into your child's pose for 3 deep breaths. Once you've done your 3 deep breaths in child's pose, come back up, tuck the toes, press it up into downward facing dog, and then jump your feet halfway up your mat, feet mat width. Then take the hips down towards the heels and come into Malasana. So really stretching through the hips, and again we'll stay here for 6 breaths. If you can't do Malasana or you can't get this deep, then simply do yogi squat. Your hands can be on your knees if you need that support, and you can have your feet more in a chair pose if that's more comfortable, or you can have them all turned out into more of a goddess pose. Entirely up to you. Really pull the core muscles in. Really press back on those knees if you're in goddess, and also if you're in Malasana. For 6 deep breaths. Really trying to lengthen the spine in whichever pose you're in. The tailbone's reaching down towards the mat. The shoulders and the top of the head are reaching up towards the ceiling. Good adjustments. And then we'll release Malasana or yogi squat and come all the way down onto your mat. Legs straight out in front of you. And again, sat on our sit bones. So sit up nice and tall to start with, flexing the feet. And then we'll reach the arms forward. To start with, keep the spine as long as you can. If you can reach the big toes, wrap your peace fingers around them. If you can't reach the big toes, then just place your hands wherever on your legs you get to. And if it's more comfortable, you can also hold on to the side of your feet. Really stretch the back nice and long, making it as straight and as long as possible. And then roll down over your legs. Keep the legs engaged, so the feet stay flexed, the hands stay pulling on the feet or wherever they're holding on to. But the head is relaxed, the spine is relaxed. We're just enjoying the weight of our body folding over our very engaged legs. So the muscles of the legs are contracting as your body relaxes over the top of them. Really lift the kneecaps up towards your thighs. Let the head hang heavy. And then very gradually come back up to your seated position. Okay, so the next pose is heron pose. So we need to do it on both sides. If you know you can't reach your foot, then you can use a strap or a towel, or you can hold on around your calf. So with heron pose, we want to be really, really sat on our sit bones, nice tall back, and we stretch our leg up straight. So if you have the bind on your foot, then fabulous. You can also do it with one arm if that's easier, but try and square your shoulders to the front as much as you can, even if you're using your opposite hand for support. If you have super long hands, you can, arms even in comparison to your legs, you can also hold around the wrist for a bind. She says, it's entirely up to you how you want to make that bind, but really try and stretch the back up tall. This will probably stretch down the back of the leg. Obviously, the more pointed your toes, you might feel the stretch change. The more flexed your foot, again, you might feel the stretch change into a different part of the muscle. We're going to do another 3 deep breaths here. And then once you've done your 3 deep breaths, release the bind, stretch that foot out long, and bend the other one in. And then again, you can hold onto the calf, you can hold onto the foot, you can make a bind with your hands. Sit up nice and tall. Really engage all the muscles around the legs. And then play with that foot positioning again. Where does the stretch go if you point your toes? Where does the stretch go if you flex your foot? Can you go any deeper once you've had a couple of breaths in the pose? Can you reach your spine up any taller? Can you pull your tummy muscles in any tighter? Can you square your shoulders to the front any more? Another 3 deep breaths in this pose. And then release that one off. Release the hands. And then we'll come up to standing and we'll come to the tops of our mats. So start with the feet either together or hip width, whatever's your most comfortable stance. Really roll the shoulders down the back to release any tension in the shoulders. Maybe squeeze the shoulder blade behind you and round through the shoulders, bringing the hands together in front of you, just to release any tension there. Play with the weight in your feet so that you find that sweet spot where your weight's perfectly balanced between the balls of your feet and your heels. Make sure the legs are engaged, kneecaps can squeeze up towards the thighs, and then play with your pelvis position. Maybe tilt it back, tilt it forward, find some neutral spot in the middle. Lift up through the spine. Honour the curves of the lower back, the middle back, the upper back. Let the hands face forward with the thumbs out to the sides and balance the head on top. Really pull in the deep core fascia, so all of the core muscles from your inner thighs all the way up through the torso. Pull everything in and up so you can stand really strong in your Tadasana pose. Lift your toes up off the floor so you're really pressing the balls of the feet and your heels into the mat. Then take 6 deep breaths here. Really lifting those core muscles in and up, squeezing the inner thighs towards one another. And then reaching the arms up above your head. Take a really long, slow, luxurious swan dive all the way down with a nice big bend in the knees coming into forward fold. Really let your body lay over your thighs and let the head hang heavy. And then as we take our 6 breaths down here, we'll have a little engagement in the legs. On the inhale, stretch the legs straighter, and on the exhale, bend the knees a lot. 6 like that. Inhaling to straighten, exhaling to bend. Then once you've done your 6 breaths, Take the left foot back. Either stay on the toes if that's more comfortable for your practice, or drop the heel. And then with a nice big bend in the front knee, we'll float the arms up into crescent lunge or warrior one. Be really strong in this posture, so the feet are really pressing down into the mat. Your torso is directly above your hips. Tummy muscles are pulled in, inner thighs are squeezing towards one another. Fingertips are reaching up above your head, but the shoulder blades are relaxed down the back. And we'll stay here for 6 breaths. Gaze is straight out towards the horizon, straight in front of you. And find power in your posture as you focus on your breath. Then once you've done your 6 breaths, float your hands down to frame the front foot and step it back to plank. You can either drop your knees or stay in plank for 6 breaths. Really press the ground away, engage the shoulders. Nice low hips. Stretch the heels away from you. Pull those core muscles in. Squeeze the inner thighs. And then either knees, chest, chin, or come down through chaturanga. You'll be pleased to know we're not doing 6 breaths in chaturanga. And then come into cobra pose or sphinx. So if you're in sphinx, fingers straight out in front of you, arms, forearms on the mat, elbows underneath your shoulders. If you're in cobra pose, then your hands are underneath your shoulders and you're just using a bit of gentle arm pressure to press the chest away from your mat. Whichever you've chosen, really sink the pelvic bone in towards the mat to give some length in the lower back. Really stretch the chest forwards. The elbows are hugging into your sides, maybe slightly pulling back towards your hips. And take 6 deep breaths in this pose. Really expanding into the chest. Legs are relaxed. Back of the neck is long. Tummy muscles are pulled in. Excellent. Then place your hands underneath the shoulders if they're not there already. Tuck the toes. Take the hips back towards the heels. Press it up into our downward facing dog. This time our dog will be static, so really get your setup right first. Wrist creases in line with the top edge of your mat. Fingers spread wide and all your fingers and your palms pressing down into the mat. Take the shoulders away from the top of the mat. Stretch the chest through towards your thighs. Legs can be as bent as you need. Let the head hang heavy so there's no tension in the back of the neck. And take your 6 deep breaths here. Once you've done your 6 breaths, float the left leg up behind you, swing it forwards and place it between the hands, giving it a little tug if you need. Then really ground down through your feet as we come up into warrior one on the other side. You can be on the toes of the back foot or drop the back heel down, whichever feels more comfortable. Get the setup first. You should be able to see your toes in front of the front knee. Back leg is nice and long, torso directly above your hips. Pull the tummy muscles in, squeeze the inner thighs towards one another. Fingertips reach up as the shoulder blades relax down your back. And then take 6 deep breaths here. Once you've done your 6 breaths, float the hands down to frame the front foot, take a bend in the back knee and step it forwards. And then exhale, fold. 6 deep breaths in your forward fold. Again, as you inhale, straighten the legs. As you exhale, bend the knees a lot. A little bit of engagement in the muscles as you move through that flow. Inhale to straighten. Exhale, fold. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, fold. 3 more. Then very slowly roll your way all the way back up to mountain pose, all the way back up to Tadasana. Reaching the arms up above you, really stretching up and lengthening the spine, and then exhaling the hands down, back into Tadasana. Palms facing forwards. Find your setup again. Really ground down through the feet. Find that perfect balance point. Stack knees above ankles, hips above knees. Find that neutral position for your hips. Lift in and up through the deep core so the back is nice and long, balancing your head on top. Shoulders are relaxed down the back, palms facing forwards. Okay, this time, inhale the arms out to the sides. Exhale them back down the middle. Inhale out to the sides. Exhale down the middle. Inhale out. Exhale down through heart center. 3 more. Inhaling out. Exhaling down. Inhaling out. Exhaling down. This time, inhale up. Exhale, swan dive down into your forward fold. Big bend in the knees. Here, inhale, half lift. Exhale, folding. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold and bend the knees. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold and bend. 3 more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold and bend. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold and bend. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold and bend. Take the right foot back this time. Drop the heel and windmill your arms up to your warrior 2. Really find your pose first. So a nice big bend in the front knees. You should be able to see your toes over the front knee. Make sure the knee is pointing in a way that makes your front hip happy. Hips are open to the side. Nice long back leg. Really press down through the outside edge of the back foot. Really press down evenly through the front foot, between the balls and the heel of the foot. Make sure your torso is stacked above the hips. Shoulders are open to the side. Stretch the fingertips away from you. Really engage through the arm muscles and then flex those fingertips up towards the ceiling like we did at the start of class. And 6 deep breaths here, pressing your hands into those imaginary walls. Good work, guys. Keep it going. Couple more breaths here. Then windmill the hands around to frame the front foot. Come onto the toes of the back foot and step it back to plank. From plank, we inhale the hips up into downward dog. Exhale forward into plank. Really squeeze all of your muscles in. Inhale back into down dog. Exhale forward into plank. Inhale back into down dog. Exhale forward into plank. Inhale back. exhale forward. 2 more. Inhale back. Exhale forward. Squeeze those core muscles in. Inhale back. Exhale forward. Good. Knees, chest, chin, or down through chaturanga for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, hold, then all the way down and into cobra. Really touch and really press the pelvic bone down into the mat. This time engage the legs, press the toes into the mat. Hands underneath the shoulders. This time as we inhale, we press through the hands slightly to lift higher, and then exhale, release. Inhale, press away. Exhale, release. Inhale, press away. Exhale, release. Hug the elbows into your sides. Inhale, press. Exhale, release. Inhale, press. Exhale, release. Really press those toes into the mat. Inhale, press. Exhale, release. Good. Tuck the toes. Take the hips back towards the heels and then press it up into downward facing dog. This time, instead of plank, take a nice big inhale at down dog. Exhale, hover the knees. Inhale, stretch back into down dog. Exhale, bring the knees forward and hover them just a couple of millimeters above the mat. Inhale back. Exhale forward to hover. Inhale back. We've got 3 more of these. Really press through the hands. Exhale to hover. Really engage the shoulders. Pull the core muscles in. Inhale back. Exhale, hover. Pull the core in. Squeeze the inner thighs together. Inhale back. Exhale, hover. Good. Inhale back. Float the right leg up behind you. Bring that right leg forwards between the hands. Drop the back heel. So we're coming back into our warrior legs. Nice big bend in the front knee and windmill the arms up to warrior 2. Get the set up first. Really press down through the front foot. Even weight between the balls and the heel of the foot. Nice bend in the knee. You should just be able to see your big toe in front of your knee. Really lengthen the back leg. Press down through the outside edge of the back foot. Stretch the fingertips away from you. Engage the arms. And then flex those fingers up towards the ceiling. And press the hands away as though you were pressing into 2 walls. Make sure the torso is stacked above the hips. And 6 deep breaths here. Whilst you're pressing away, try and keep the shoulder blades relaxed. And then once you've done your 6 breaths, release the fingers, windmill the arms around to frame the front foot, coming onto the toes of the back foot, and step forward into your forward fold. Nice big bend in the knees. Inhale into half lift, long legs, long back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. 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 Exhale, fold. 1 more. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And then inhale, roll all the way back up, reaching the arms up, stretching up, looking up, and then exhale the hands through heart center. Beautiful stuff. We'll come down onto our mats now, and we're going to come down onto our hips with our feet out wide. Options here, you can either bend one knee in if that feels better for you, or you can keep the legs in wide leg. Flex the feet, so our legs are going to stay engaged throughout this. We'll drop the left hand down towards the mat and reach the right arm over for a side bend. So if you want to create a bit more space, then you would bend your left leg in. So you're still getting that nice stretch, and you can still keep both sit bones down onto the floor. Or keep it straight. So really reach those fingertips away, really pull the core muscles in. Engage those legs. The supporting hand can be as bent as you need, and if it's in your practice and you want to go down onto your elbow, then feel free to do so. And if you haven't guessed already, we're doing 6 breaths here, so we're probably at about 3 already, so we'll do 3 more. Then really engage the legs again. Really sit down through the sit bones as you use your core to come up through center and moving over nice and gently and slowly to the other side. Take a couple of breaths here first, just noticing how one side will differ from the other. Tight spots might be in a different place. You might have more range of motion one way than the other. Really stretch those fingertips away. On this side, if you want to bend the right leg in, then you can, or you can keep it out straight. Really engage those legs again. Flex the feet. If you want to come down further, then you can come down further, but make sure that your sit bones still stay completely engaged with the ground beneath you. Stretch those fingers away. Really get that stretch all the way down into the side outer hip. 3 more breaths here. And then use the core to come up through center. Bring the legs together and swing yourself around onto your mat. Ground down through the sit bones. Last bit of strength before we have a relax. So we'll do 6 breaths in boat pose. Now you can either simply do the arms, really engage the core. If you want to lift the knees, you can lift the feet as well, not the knees are already lifted. If you want to do straight legs, you can do straight legs, although obviously that is more difficult than if your knees are bent. And if you want to be really mean to yourself and you want to do low boat, then you can do low boat. It's entirely up to you. Whichever one you choose. Again, if you have any pain in the lower back, you can always use your hands for support and just do your feet too. And we'll hold it for 6 breaths. So pick whichever one you want to do. I'm going to be mean to myself this evening. Pull everything in, squeeze the inner thighs towards one another. 6 deep breaths. Whichever one you've chosen, lower all the way down to the floor. Completely relax back onto your mat. Take the arms straight out from your shoulders in a capital letter T. And then bring your feet to the mat. Lift your hips up, scoot them over to the right, pop them back down. Hug the knees in towards your chest, and then roll the knees over towards the left and look out over your right shoulder. And then take 6 deep breaths here. Really sending the breath to any tight spots that may be left in the body. And as you exhale, try and encourage those muscles to let go. So inhaling really deeply, maybe squeezing those muscles that are refusing to let go. And then exhale, make them release, make them let go. And then once you've done your 6 breaths, bring your head back to center. And on an exhale, squeeze all the core muscles in and roll the hips back onto the mat with the feet coming down last. Straighten yourself back up in the middle again. And then lift the hips up, scoot them over to the left, drop them back down. Hug the knees in towards the chest, and then roll the knees over towards the right and look out over the left shoulder. Just noticing how one side feels different to the other. And then take your 6 deep breaths with the same focus on sending the breath to any tight spots, maybe giving those muscles a little squeeze. And then as you exhale, encouraging them to let go. Once you've done your 6 breaths, bring your head back to center. On your next exhale, pull all the core muscles in and roll the hips back onto the mat, letting the feet come down last. Straighten yourself up, stretch the legs out long, take the arms down by your sides into final Savasana. Any discomfort in the lower back, feel free to bring your feet to the mat and let the knees roll in. Or if it feels good on your hips, you can also bring the soles of your feet together and let the knees fall out. Make sure your lower back is comfortable, that's the most important thing. Then tuck your shoulder blades underneath your torso, let the neck be long, whilst your head is completely supported by the ground beneath you, giving your neck a rest from carrying it around all day. Let the arms be relaxed down by your sides, either palm up or palm down, whichever feels more natural. And then just take that awareness back to the breath once more. Watching the breath come and go in and out of the body. Not trying to control it any longer. Just letting it do its natural thing. Make a note of its length, of its depth, how it enters the body, how it leaves the body. Notice if the breath is free and easy, or whether there's any areas of restriction. And also notice whether anything has changed from the start of class. And take the awareness away from the breath and notice how your body feels. Notice if anywhere still feels like it needs a good stretch, or whether it feels as though it's been stretched. Notice where you feel free and easy. And notice if any areas of tension still remain that you could do with a little bit more work on. Not judging in any way, every day is different. Just making a mental note of what there is to be found. And then when you feel ready, start to make some movements. Whether you want to stretch out as long as you can, or whether you want to hug your knees into your chest, or whether your body is craving that you do something else. Move in whatever way feels natural for you to move right now, in this moment. And then when you're ready, and there's no rush at all, roll over onto your side and gradually make your way up to seated. Thank you for coming and practicing on your mat with me this evening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope to see you on your mats again soon.